Good afternoon, baseball fans, live on BW Sports 1. We're back with just a bit outside for the off-season edition, John, and I don't know about you. Have you been keeping up with everything?
Tim, it's the morning. You sound like Fetterman now. Good night, everybody. No, it's good morning. It's 11 o'clock.
Did I say good night?
You said good afternoon.
Well, that's close enough to the afternoon, but we're good. We're good. Shut up. We got to get back at it here. We're bringing on a special guest, John, and you know him, I know him, you all know him. It's Mac Haas.
Hello.
And Mac,
thank you.
Mac is back, and we're going to make sure this time we don't get this taken down. We're not going to get Zuckerberg. So Mac, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It's not like I haven't talked to you, yesterday or anything, but I don't know. What have you been looking forward to so far this offseason? Anything catching your eye yet? Paying attention to much?
I'm, as a hardcore Phillies fan, I'm really looking forward to the Phillies making some kind of free agent splash here, which I know we're going to be talking about here, MLB free agency in general, but really looking to see the Phillies add to their already talented roster and have some sustained success for a few years here. So
if there's one thing that we all admit that we are, as a baseball podcast, we are very pro-Philly, which probably isn't the best thing in the world.
But man,
it is what it is right now. I'm working on getting some other fans in here, so it's not all completely one-sided. But let's jump into it, guys. We got one more day until the winter meetings start taking shape in San Diego. Everybody's coming together. We've already got one big free agent signed. Let me get everything pulled back up here real quick. And if I was better at this, I would have. Where is it? Oh, there it is.
It's all good.
There we go. It's infielders. Let's get to the big boy here, Mr. 5-year, $185 million contract, Jacob deGrom, and John, you and I both picked him going to Texas.
It's that oil money.
I don't get it. What the appeal is with the Texas Rangers? Last year they signed two guys to $1 billion. This year they get arguably the best pitcher in the league. Mac, what's going on here, man?
I mean, I've heard Texas is a nice place this time of year. But in all seriousness, it seems like they're really, really trying to spend the money to bolster their team. It seems like they've gotten close here in recent history. But I think they're really, really trying to push it over the edge here. So, and honestly, maybe the location is part of it for some of these players. So you never know.
There's no state income tax, and it sounds like a stupid, minute thing to talk about. But when you're talking about $185 million, 4 to 6% of that makes a big difference. So that's a factor, man, especially compared to New York State. I'm not sure what their income tax is, but I'm sure it's pretty substantial.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I was going to say, I remember a couple of years ago with LeBron's contract or whatever, part of him wanting to go to Miami, I guess, was Florida had a cheaper tax rate, or that kind of helped with everything. So, but yeah, cheaper taxes, always more money in your pocket. And who doesn't like more money in their pocket?
It's a progressive income tax that goes up to 11%. So you got to figure $185 million is probably the top tier. So you're paying an extra 11% over the life of that contract to state in New York versus nothing in Texas. So it sounds stupid to most people, but it makes a difference, dude.
I mean, then we got the financial advisor here, so let's roll with this. And DeGrom's contract too, I did see there's a 6-year option, which could bring the total to a whopping $222 million. So
enough to make Max spit his coffee out, dude. It's crazy.
Listen, it's contracts like that make me wish I was gifted with a rocket for a right arm and a breaking ball to make any hitter second guess their line of work.
Well, look, so did you get a chance to read that Heyman article about the signing?
No, I didn't. Mac, did you? John sent it to me. I don't know if you might have seen it too, but Heyman wrote an article.
It's just an interesting perspective that I kind of agree with when you start looking at DeGrom, and he's 34, and he has been quite injury prone, has not been reliable. But pitches good when he does pitch. It's just few and far between, right? And so you look at comparisons of other pitchers compared to him, and what they're paying him. And his point essentially was that the Mets dodged a bullet by not paying him what he was asking for. The contract they gave him, the offer they gave him, I think was what, 3 years, 40 million per, something like that, or 4 years, 30 million per.
I'm not sure what the Mets offered. I just read, I think it would have been Rosenthal or somebody on Twitter. The Mets never even submitted a final offer.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about it. They didn't submit it this time around. I think they did earlier on. They tried to get a contract done, and I want to say it was a shorter contract for sure. It was 3 or 4 years. I think it might have been just 3 years at 40 million, something like that. Which would have been. I still think. I mean,
3 years, 40 million a season, or 40 million total.
Oh, per season, I think.
Okay.
Maybe it was 4 at 30. One of the two. I forget. You can maybe look it up. I'm not sure.
But I have to look here, but I'm not good at math. But 3 years and 40 million overall. We're looking at Zach Eflin money there.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But,
it wasn't that. But I mean, yeah. So and I mean, 34. You're still paying for basically the upside potential of him being a reliable starter consistently for like 4 or 5 seasons, which we haven't really seen it from him yet. So it's a gamble, man. And the Rangers are trying to buy the rebuild, basically, right? They're not trying to do the long play. They're trying to do the quick play and just throw money over it. And it could work, or it could be putting a Band-Aid over a bullet hole, I guess, right?
Good. Mac, what are you thinking about it?
I mean, I kind of agree with what Johnny was saying here. You know, they're trying to buy it right now, and it's kind of do pitchers have the same kind of longevity as a position player would? Someone like Bryce Harper, where you can sign him for a mega deal, or Aaron Judge, where he's probably going to get a mega deal too. So like, are you going to have that kind of long-term reliability out of a pitcher, and is it worth the money? But, you know, most teams want to sign flamethrowers these days, and that's just kind of how the game is moving. So
I get that. I think the one thing that a lot of people are missing here too is the Rangers have 2 electric arms coming up through the bullpen. They've got Jack Leiter Jr. and Kumar Rocker, both the former Vanderbilt star pitchers. Rocker was drafted a couple of years ago by the Mets. Didn't sign. They were claiming medical reason, or there was a medical report that he supposedly didn't agree with, so he didn't sign, went back into the draft, got picked up by Texas later on. But you've got Vanderbilt's 1 and 2 guys coming up through, and if I'm Texas, you get the best pitcher in the game, you bring both those guys up, and you have them eat dinner and share rooms with Jacob deGrom. But that's just my opinion there.
I see it.
So just trying to do we think the Rangers are done making deals, or do you think there's one more? I mean, they need a lot. Is there anybody else out there that they may try to go get, or do you think they're just going to wait?
They've shown that they are not afraid to spend whatsoever. So there's no limitation. I don't think there's any cap like some teams have that, you know, the certain level of the luxury tax you don't want to go over. I don't think the Rangers care about anything like that. I think they'll spend anything and everything, and they'll probably overpay. I mean, they probably overpaid for deGrom, right? But they also set the market for other starting pitchers very early on, right? And I know we're going to touch on some other ones, one in particular later, but you look at where the dominoes are going to fall in that marketplace, and it's going to be wild. But don't count the Rangers out on anything at this point, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking up here, too, because I can't do math. I Googled it real quick. Roughly $37 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have liked that. So from one large contract pitcher signing to a not so large pitcher contract signing, but yet the largest free agent deal signed by the Tampa Bay Rays, Zach Eflin. John, you and I were completely off on this one. We thought he was going back to the West Coast. We just picked the wrong coast.
Good for him, man. You know, like the guy. Nothing bad to say about him. I hope he does do well. I'm glad the Phillies didn't give him that contract, right? Having seen his, again, at least recently, his lack of availability that's the biggest thing, right? Is being available to pitch. I think he wasn't obviously going to be willing to take a bullpen role, which I think the Phillies probably would have welcomed him back for and paid him decent money to do. He wants to start, gets a chance to start, and I hope it works out well for him. You know, we'll see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, coming from all us Philly fans here, I don't think we're going to, you know, not going to wish ill will upon the guy for leaving. I mean, good for him for getting his money. 3 years, either 38 or 40 million for him down in Tampa Bay. Somehow, some way, their largest contract signing for a free agent, which I don't get. How is that your biggest one? But Mac, are you sad to see Eflin leave, or you happy that he got paid by somebody else?
I'm happy he got paid. I'm kind of in agreement with the both of you. I don't think the Phillies should have paid him that kind of money, and glad they didn't. I think they could spend that money more productively for sure in potential free agent signings here. But to your point, I think he was probably going to be out of the bullpen for the Phillies if he stayed. The Phillies do have some decent pitchers, potential starting pitchers coming up through the farm system. So what would his role be? Would he be a fourth or fifth guy in a rotation? I don't know. But, he did pitch great in big spots out of the bullpen for the Phillies postseason run. And we don't want to discount that, but yeah, he wants to start, and that's he was worth that to Tampa Bay. So yeah, I wish him well.
I believe he's from Florida as well. So maybe
again, that could have been a factor.
You start to look at like these contracts early on in free agency and where they're setting things, and the starting pitching market is going to be hot. There's going to be money being spent. And if we didn't think that already, these contracts, Eflin getting that kind of money early on is going to, as you look at some of these other names here, it's going to let make a lot of them happy probably to see what they're going to be getting, when they do end up deciding where they're going to go.
Yeah, and let's just while we're on the talk of pitchers, let's just go ahead and get into this now. The big domino fell with DeGrom. You still have Verlander out there now, apparently, according to rumors and who you read offseason updates from. The market for Carlos Rodon is starting to take place. I read that the Orioles and 9 other teams are interested. So, I picked him going to the Mets. We both, John and I both figured after the loss of DeGrom, they got to go get somebody. I think Rodon's going to the Mets. John, do you still think he's going to go to Philly, or do you want to?
So yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, I think that where the dominoes are falling, and with the Mets missing out on DeGrom, I've had read a lot of tea leaves that are saying they could go after Rodon and Verlander, right?
Yep.
And so I think Uncle Stevie will spend as well. As much as I hate to say it, he probably made the prudent decision by not giving that contract to DeGrom. And so I think that the homer in me is still rooting for the Phillies. I think I would be not shocked whatsoever if the Mets end up landing Rodon. And I'd probably say if I was a betting man, which I'm not, and I'm not condoning in any way, shape, or form, but I would say that probably the Mets would be the favorites at this point to get him, I think.
Mac, what do you think? We made these picks probably 3 weeks after the World Series ended, maybe. So it was, literally throwing anything against the wall to see what sticks. But and you have any idea or any thoughts of, the Rodon and the Verlander markets?
I would like to, I don't know if I would necessarily want Verlander in the division. But, this year there are less division games with the restructure of the schedule restructure. So, but we could beat up Verlander for, several games a year. That's fine with me.
So you think you're calling Verlander to New York?
I'm in agreement. I think the Mets letting DeGrom go, they need to pick somebody up. So.
And then any thoughts on Rodon? Does he come to the East Coast? Does Baltimore somehow? Let me pull it back up here. Let me see if I can pull up a list of the teams that were interested real quick. DeGrom. Or is that up here? That's another player we'll touch on. But I was going to say, somehow Baltimore doesn't shock me. Like, they were so close this last year. And from what's going on with them, they just need to go out and spend some money. And I don't know, maybe they can make another push, but they definitely need to do something.
Man, I like the Orioles, dude. I'll tell you what. Obviously being geographically close, we probably know a good amount of people that are Orioles fans, and they've been in the dumps for so long that it's good to see them have a little bit of a renaissance. And you want to make it more than just a 1-year feel-good story, right? And they are on paper in a position where you're right, add a couple decent pieces, and they could be legitimate contenders for playoff spot. I'd say so. I'll root for him to do something.
So, and the Orioles did make a signing. We'll touch on that. Not a groundbreaking signing, but let's see. Orioles among 8 to 9 teams interested in Rodon. Suitors already known, as reports have indicated, the Mets, the Yankees, Giants, Twins, Dodgers, and Rangers have all checked in on the market. Orioles is the new name for the mix.
And no Phillies at all.
No Phillies. So that was, let's see here. That was an MLB trade rumor article from yesterday at 7:45 Central Time. So, yeah, no Phillies there. But this is also saying Verlander seems to be the Mets' preferred option. So maybe Justin Verlander comes to New York. Maybe. But I don't know. We don't know. We're just guys sitting in front of a camera. But so John, I'm just trying to recap here. I'll probably end up switching my pick there, but somehow I think New York's going to end up with one of these guys. But I think it's just going to be Rodon just because he's the younger dude.
Don't be surprised if they get both, honestly.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all.
They have lots of money up in New York.
They do.
So let's
Uncle
see.
Stevie, man. Actually, no, he might have lost some of that money in FTX. So,
there we go. FTX strikes again.
Maybe that's why they didn't pay DeGrom.
Whoopsies! Looks like your contract left with FTX.
Oh,
Womp womp
Right.
womp. One addition to New York. Kate Upton, possibly. Maybe not. So let's see here. Recent signings. Baltimore did sign Kyle Gibson to a contract pending a physical. Could not find any information on that quite yet. So Baltimore makes its first signing of the offseason.
Tim is devastated.
I am so shocked.
the third
Gibson
ace.
left. Listen, if this rotation was built like the 2009, Kyle Gibson was totally the Joe Blanton.
Yeah.
You know who one of the other biggest contract signing is for the Rays in history?
Charlie Morton.
Yes, ex-Philly Charlie Morton for a cup of coffee.
Let's see here. So these are just some recent signings that I saw. Carlos Santana split some time between the Royals and the Mariners last year. He's going to call Pittsburgh home for maybe a year. 1 year, $6.725 million.
That's a Pirates signing if I ever seen one, right? A name that their fans probably have heard of 10 years ago that cost them next to nothing, and then they'll try and dangle him out there for some type of trade bait around the deadline, probably for a contender if anybody has any interest whatsoever, and get a couple of guys in the farm system that won't work out. Man, that's a dumpster fire franchise.
Well, man, tell me how you really feel. Mac, anything to throw onto that, Mac? You want to put that fire out at all or let it burn?
Sell the team.
He says let it burn. That's a let it burn comment if I've ever heard it. We'll go back into the outfielders here. I think Pittsburgh may try to sign one more guy, but highly unlikely. Jose Abreu goes from Chicago and joins the world champion Houston Astros on a 3-year, $58.5 million contract, giving them a new first baseman and bat in the middle of the lineup. And then Mike Clevenger, who Philly beat up in San Diego, signs with the White Sox for 1 year and $12 million. One thing I have noticed, and I haven't seen the Gibson contract yet, is the cost for average starting pitching is way too high. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I mean, You got Eflin getting like 13, 15 million a year. Clevenger's getting 12 million. Like to steal the line from the rent is too darn high, guy. The cost of average starting pitching is too damn high.
Yeah, I'm like interested to know kind of where this market's coming from, why the prices are getting so high. The game is way different than it used to be, even 20, 30 years ago, where it's definitely geared towards offense. So I don't know, maybe that's just what teams need to spend I don't know. Maybe it's just there's not as much talent out there. I don't know. The game is way different than it used to be.
Yeah, and now remember too, these contracts are before the rest of the dominoes fall.
Yep.
So this is not that I think the Judge future contract and the Turner and the Bogarts contract will affect any of these guys. So we might as well just get them out of the way. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what Kyle Gibson gets. My guess would be anywhere between 8 to 10 million for a year,
which is about 6 to 8 million too much.
Let's see here. Let's see. We did the pitchers. Nobody has signed out of our outfield list yet, John.
Dominoes to fall, man. Like you said, when the first one goes, everything will fall in line. But that's how it always starts out, right? None of the big. I mean, DeGrom was the biggest piece, obviously, for pitchers, and I think we'll see things heat up there. Until Judge does something, then you're not going to get anybody else. I don't think, right? I wouldn't imagine.
No, in the outfielder list, I think once Judge falls, the rest will follow.
Right.
Yep.
Obviously, none of our picks here, Mac. You see who John and I picked way too early to call. Any names standing out to you? Anybody you've got your eye on in this list where they may go? Does Judge stay? Does Judge go?
I kind of think Judge wants out of New York, to be honest. I think him and whoever his agent is, they're going to negotiate a mega deal somewhere.
Yep. And last I did here too, rumored to at least get a 9-year deal.
And getting probably Bryce Harper contract level money, but over a shorter period of time is absolutely insane. Like on the order of $40 million a year type thing. So he'll get paid. It's just a matter of who's going to pay him.
Yeah. John, do you think, I mean, any clue as to what the numbers could look like on this one?
Sounds about right, I'd say, from what I've been hearing as well. I don't think he helped himself, and I don't think New York helped himself in the playoffs, man. They didn't give him any love. And he didn't deserve it in the playoffs. Let's be honest. He kind of came out and laid an egg, man. But yeah, I would not be surprised. They're obviously going to bid things up, right? So there's going to be at least one team outside of New York that's going to give him the contract he wants. If the Yankees do match it, then he'll have a decision to make. And if I were a betting man, which of course I'm not, I don't condone, but I would say like that it's probably better than 50-50. If he has two comparable offers, he takes the one outside of New York at this point.
I've been hearing the Giants come up a lot with Aaron Judge, just from what I've been reading. And I thought that ballpark would be something a hitter like Judge would want to stay away from. But the all-time leading home run hitter called San Francisco his home. So maybe I'm wrong in that statement.
The steroids called San Francisco home, my friend.
Yes, they did. I was going to say here, Mac, any guesses for I can't remember if you said anything about Judge, but if Nimmo, if there's another outfielder or a DH, you think that might be a shock sign soon, or anyone you've kept your eye on?
I mean, not particularly. I guess Aaron Judge is the big one that everybody wants to follow. But it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. I honestly, I don't have too much more to say on it.
Yeah. It's, again, too, we're so early into everything. I think after tomorrow, everything's going to start falling into place. So hopefully this is the last kind of, what if scenario. And then as soon as the first thing falls, the rest will follow. We did get some movement in our infielder picks. Early on, Anthony Rizzo did end up re-signing with the New York Yankees. All of the available shortstops are still out there. Shocking to nobody. Justin Turner, I haven't heard an update on him outside of the options being declined. That was early on too. Guys, any kind of noteworthy things here? I did see Philly's got a meeting with all 4 shortstops, so I think it's safe to say they're getting a shortstop at some point.
Yes.
Yep.
Any preference on to who?
They're willing to spend. I think they have the checkbook to get Turner if they want Turner. And I don't see why you wouldn't, to be honest with you.
Especially if that's going to be Trey Turner's first choice, is if he wants to play in Philly, then I think we want him. And we'll Dabrowski should go out and get him then.
Yeah. And I was reading too. Obviously, every story coming out is Turner is the first choice for Philly. Swanson might be the number 2 in case something happens. Not sure how I would feel about that, but the Cubs have also been linked to Swanson. Clearly, John and I both think Turner's going to end up in Philly. Mac, you think Turner's going to be in Philly too?
Yeah, I do.
I'd be shocked if Bogarts wasn't the second choice coming from Boston with Dombrowski. I would honestly be shocked if the Swanson would be the pick over Bogarts. I think if they don't get Turner, they get Bogarts.
If you had to make a list of, if you're going to rank those shortstops 1 to 4, who's where, who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4? If you're shopping for a shortstop,
Turner's 1 for sure.
Yep.
Bogarts 2, Correa 3, Swanson 4, maybe. I don't know. I probably wouldn't put. I'd probably Swanson 3 or 4.
Okay, Mac, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in agreement there. I think you could probably interchange the 3 and 4, but I think your number 1 and 2 for the Phillies anyway is Turner and Bogarts.
I'm the minority here. I don't want to see Bogarts in Philadelphia. I'd rather, if I'm making a list of 1 to 4, just completely like out of straight rankings, I'm going to go Turner, Swanson, Correa, Bogarts.
Wow.
I don't want Xander Bogarts around. I want Trey Turner, and then if I can't get Trey Turner, I want a 28-year-old shortstop in Dansby Swanson who will stick around for a while.
What don't you like about Bogarts?
If he's as old as I think he is, let me look.
I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah,
he's 30, 31.
Oh, he's 31? Okay. I thought he was like 32, 33.
Born in 92.
I thought he was older.
Yeah, he's 30.
Okay, so I thought he was the senior of the group. So so I'm a little wrong on that one. Taking a look here, back outside of the shortstops, anybody to keep an eye on infielder wise? Any picks as to who goes where?
No, I mean, I think Turner's probably the obvious one, the big one on the list. But that's really all I'm keeping my eye on at the moment.
Yeah, that's a lot of us. All right, I did see Wilson Contreras did have a meeting set up with the Astros, so maybe they're not done quite yet, and John's calling something early. But
I don't try and use my mind too much. I try and listen to the hot stove, and typically when there's smoke, there's fire, right? So I don't overthink it. It's what I say when I made my picks, right?
Yeah, and that's that. I always overthink everything.
You do.
So
it's not a bad thing.
Mac, beforehand, you did mention something that you have a little bit of gripe with free agency going on before we went on air.
Oh no, it was just talking about I think it was just talking about that, before we went on, that when Judge goes, that's when all the dominoes will start falling. I think that's the point that I don't remember what the other point was.
Okay, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth then. So let me.
Tim's out here airing out our dirty laundry on live air.
Oh no!
Goodness.
How dare I? So that kind of updates free agency there. John, are there any picks that you kind of want to redact or change around between all the lists, or just roll with how everything is?
I'm gonna roll with how it is for now. No reason to change it yet. I mean, I certainly will be wrong on at least a few of them for sure.
Yeah,
but
I think
at this point, it's hard to. Nobody's been ruled in or out for any team at this point. It's all just a lot of rumor mill and whatnot. So when one domino falls, the rest will follow. So once that domino falls, I'm sure I'll be wherever Turner goes. If it's not Philadelphia, then I will obviously want to change a lot of things in response to that, especially with the shortstop market, right? But we'll see.
Let's see here. So you're up 1 on the infielders. Nobody signed in the outfield, and we're tied on the pitchers. So pretty early on. We'll see what happens there. Let me get rid of that and pop up something else here. Where was I going to go? Oh, yes. Speaking of teams in turmoil and things that should be sold and or continue to burn, the Pirates' best player is now requesting a trade.
Rinse and repeat, man. Feels like that's a common refrain for the franchise, huh?
And then that news broke shortly after the Kyle Gibson signing. So apparently Pittsburgh was in on Gibson, but failed on that one. So Brian Reynolds goes, you know what? I want out. Any shock to you guys there?
Nope.
No.
So,
No.
Straight to the point.
What are they doing, man? Like, does anybody think that there's any actual strategy with that franchise to win baseball games and be competitive? It's a business. They're running it as a money-making business, and that's that.
Yeah.
Right? They spend the bare minimum. I think Reynolds is getting $7 million a year, something like that. 2 years,
Yeah.
$13.5 million, right? So, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't blame him. I'd be sick of it too. But I mean, I guess if you sign a contract with the Pirates, are you expecting to be competitive? Like, is not getting Gibson really going to change your outlook as a player for what you expect?
Hey, they got, to their credit, they just signed Carlos Santana. They traded for Chi-Man Choi, formerly of the Rays. And, I'm just reading here too. The Pirates offered Reynolds an extension that would have made him the highest Pirate in history by top dollar figure.
Yeah.
So they made an
congratulations. It's like Eflin's contract, right? I mean, like, you broke a franchise record for a destitute franchise. I don't know. I don't hate the Pirates. I just think that they're a pretty subpar, pathetic organization. So,
Mac,
good for Reynolds.
Anything to add, Mac?
I mean, whenever I make an annual trip out to Pittsburgh to see the Phillies play out there, the tickets are not expensive and I can sit close to the field. So wearing my Phillies red. So
there's a reason for that, as we just discussed.
Yes.
So I'm looking here too, just trying to read this article real quick. Pirates have no intention of dealing the All-Star. Pirates have released a statement on the request. While it's disappointing, this will have zero impact on our decision-making this offseason or in the future. Our goal is to improve the Pirates for 2023 and beyond. With 3 years remaining until he hits free agency, Brian remains a key member of our team. We look forward to him having a great season for the Pirates.
Wow.
So
all right, then.
That sounds like a big old nothing burger. But if something were to happen, that's 3 years of control, and Pittsburgh may get a return,
and they'll squander it. And then whatever return it is, if they are ever decent players, then as soon as they're worth the damn and could get a good contract, then they'll let them walk or ship them out again.
Do you remember
repeat, right?
So I think I know what you're bringing up there. You remember the Garrett Cole deal?
Yeah.
You want to know how many current players are on the roster from that deal? 0.
Exactly. Exactly, dude.
All right.
It's an organization. It's a franchise, right?
So let's see. We did the free agency there. Brian Reynolds does his trade. Judge and Ron Rodon are probably going to sign, I think, before the end of the week. Something else I did see that always worth a little bit of debate is the Hall of Fame, especially now that we're getting into the era that we grew up with, and that being steroids galore. Let me pull the ballot up here for you guys. Nope, not that folder. Not the trash. Do you think I'd be better at this? No.
We still love you, Tim. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
There we go. So this is the Hall of Fame ballot for 2023. Anybody that's italics is a first-year candidate. Anybody with a line under name is a final-year candidate. You get 10 years on the ballot. Guys, let me pull up from last year. Notable people not on the Hall of Fame ballots anymore are Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Curt Schilling.
Curt Schilling's not on there because of his political beliefs, okay? Let's get that straight right now.
I was going to touch on that there.
But I mean, I'm mostly kidding, but still, I think there's something to be said for that, too. He's been extremely open about his viewpoints that don't align with, I'm sure, many of the writers who are voting on this, right? So I think he definitely got kind of black-eyed for that.
So I was going to say he is still eligible to get in under the. Let me pull that back up here because I have that set aside.
Yeah, they need to simplify the system. You need a PhD to figure out how this thing works, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So the Contemporary Era Committee can elect players not on the ballot into the Hall of Fame. These are guys that have been on the ballot before but have lost eligibility by the writers. The candidates you see there: Albert Bell, Barry Bonds, Clemens, Mattingly, who maybe should have gotten in, Fred McGriff, Dale Murphy, Rafael Palmeiro, Mr. Fingerwag, and our favorite former Philly, Curt Schilling. Out of this list, let's start with this one, guys, because this is the controversy list. Anybody on this ballot, anybody think that any of these guys should get in?
I'll let Matt go. Yeah, me too. I'll let Matt go.
Okay. Definitely. I definitely agree that Curt Schilling should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he has been part of some of the most incredible sports moments in sports history, not just baseball history. With the Phillies, with the Red Sox, I think, putting political views aside, based on what he's done in his career, he definitely should be in. I might ruffle some feathers too, but I do think Barry Bonds should get in the Hall of Fame. I'm one of those people. We all know what he did, but he did put up huge numbers, and it was entertaining to the fans. So
I'm gonna have the controversial opinion on this one for you guys. So go ahead, John.
I'm taking Schilling, and that's it. Steroid era, I am a full believer that they should be punished and not necessarily viewed the same way, especially people that are pretty open about it, and it's all but certain that they used, right, of that list. I mean, Palmeiro, Bonds, Clemens, 1,000%, those guys absolutely should be not in for that reason alone. And yeah, I'm right with Curt, man. Another homer pick, man. He's great for Phillies, but I mean, honestly, I really do think he deserves to be in.
So Curt Schilling was, again, this is the Hall of Fame here too, so this is my opinion. Outside of guys like Bonds and Clemens, where the big thing there is the steroids, the Curt Schilling argument for me is, was he really, really, really good? Yes. Is he Hall of Fame good? No. Did he have some good years? Yes. But overall, I mean, we're talking about a guy who just got over 200 career wins, has almost 3.5 career ERA. Going through here, 3,261 innings pitched. How many strikeouts are we looking at? Oh, wrong way. Schilling, we're looking at a career total of 3,116 strikeouts. So, I mean, is it a good career? Yeah, it's a good career. Is it a Hall of Fame career? I don't think it's a Hall of Fame career. That's just me. Palmeiro, no. I mean, Mr. Fingerwag, no thanks. Bonds, I can't vote for any of the steroid guys. I just can't. Whether it be a moral thing, is he the home run? It's almost like the Pete Rose thing. Is he the hit king? Yes. Is he in the Hall of Fame? No. And
see, that's different to me. Not to cut you off there, but it's a competitive advantage, and Pete had none of that. Nothing that came out or has been proven shows that his betting had anything to do about his performance, right? The steroids directly affected Bonds' performance and his resume for the Hall of Fame.
Mac, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with a lot of those arguments. A guy like Pete Rose, I mean, I think he is kind of genuinely a bad person.
Yeah.
Other people on this list, I don't share that belief. But while Pete Rose was really, really good and probably should be in the Hall of Fame based on numbers alone, I mean, he's kind of a bad guy.
I get the betting thing for Pete Rose. I still would have.
It's more than that.
It's the whole. How am I going to put this lightly? Somewhat pedophile nature of Pete Rose where he wasn't sure of the age of certain younger women.
Yeah.
Just Google it. I don't want to get into it here. It's a lot to unfold.
Mm-hmm.
So those are, and again,
Fair point.
For these guys to get in, the committee era is made up of 16 former players, executives. They only get 3 votes each. 12 of the 16 committee members need to vote in one of these guys. So if there's a chance, forget who it is on this list that may get in. Does anybody on this list, do you think, get in?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there with you guys. It's too many question marks. And Kurt Schilling last year, too. I mean, you need 75% of the votes to get in on the regular ballot. Bonds only had, let me scroll back down here.
Which reminds me that I should make a point that all of us should have votes for this because we are now part of baseball media.
I don't think we're qualified enough, sadly. Why can I not?
On whose authority, Tim?
The Baseball Writers Association of America.
Well, it's time for us to lobby them.
Bonds last year had only 66% of the votes. Clemens had 65.2. Schilling had 58.6. So they were a far stretch from getting in by the writers. And I'm with agreement on you guys. I think it's going to be a far stretch for them to get voted in by the committee. Now let's go back. If I can click on the right thing here.
Actually, I think we should change the way we elect a Hall of Fame. Should take Elon's lead and just do Twitter polls for every player.
That actually
now that the bots are all gone.
Should there be a fan vote per se, but it only accounts for like a very small percentage?
No, people are stupid.
If
that's
it
where you
had
get in your David Bells and.
I would say if it had such a little impact, I mean, it would just be more of a ceremonial thing. Like, look at what the fans decided. But no, I do not think so because they would not vote for the appropriate people.
Yes, I concur.
So you think it would turn into like a Footy McFooty face or Bodie McBodie face kind of vote?
It would 1,000% become a troll thing.
Yes.
So this is the actual ballot for this year for 2023. And the Twitter account's out here, not Mr. Tibbs. He has a live Excel sheet where as soon as votes are made public, he updates everything in Excel. So you can almost live view how the votes are coming in. So once we get closer to that, definitely something to check out. But I asked you guys to vote for your Hall of Fame. If we were writers and if we were credited by the association, you get up to 10 votes on this list. Mac, are you voting for? Who are you voting for here? Who are your picks?
I'm definitely not voting for 10 if I were to vote. It gets there's some big names on this list. Really, the big one that jumps out to me is Manny Ramirez. I'm not 100% sure if he was involved in any kind of steroid anything. I don't believe he was. But he, one of those guys who really made an impact on the teams he was on those Boston teams for all those years. I don't know. And he's really the only one that I like for sure would probably vote for. Everyone else on the list, I'm kind of on. As much as I would like to vote for the several former Phillies that are on this list. I love Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, Jason Worth, but I don't know if I would vote for them. Maybe Jimmy Rollins. Jimmy Rollins did have at least one MVP caliber season and put up great numbers throughout his career.
Yeah, those like that 07 through about 2010, 2011 run.
Yep. And I think there's arguments to be made for Alex Rodriguez and Andy Pettitte as well. Very talented guys. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what the two of you have to say on it.
So your only official vote is Manny Ramirez, or?
I think I'm going to throw in Alex Rodriguez also.
So Manny and A-Rod. Okay, so we've got A-Rod, who had 34.3% of the votes last year, and Manny with 28.9. So they get max vote. John, what are you feeling?
I'm going Manny Ramirez and Jimmy Rollins. That is it.
Jimmy Rollins.
I agree with what Max said for sure. I thought about Pettit potentially as well. But I think, conviction votes, Manny for sure. I think he would be my number one pick. And I think Jimmy, for his longevity and what he did over his career, I think he deserves it as well. But yeah, I'm not a steroids guy, so A-Rod not even touching that with a 10-foot pole. No way.
Yeah, and Jimmy Rollins last year had a 9.4%. So and the way that a lot of this works too is if there's a lot of really kind of on the fence guys, some guys like Abreu, Rollins, Wagner may get some more votes in there just because some people don't like submitting a blank ballot. For me, I would submit a blank ballot. I would not vote for any of these people. The only one that would get the smallest consideration is Scott Rowland. But I personally cannot stand Scott Rowland because he broke my heart as a child when he left Philadelphia.
Yeah, he kind of left on the not great terms.
Yeah.
And of that ballot, he actually has the highest percentage of people. Last year, David Ortiz was the only person to get in with 77.9%. Then it was Bonds, Clemens, and then sending fourth was Scott Rowland with 63.2.
That surprises me a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, Scott Rowland's one of those guys. Is it a Hall of Fame career? I don't think so. Was it a really, really good career? Yes, it was.
That surprises me a lot, honestly.
Yeah, and I was actually trying to look up his stats here too. Just, maybe is there something I'm missing? He did win Rookie of the Year in 1997, but the highest he ever finished in an MVP race was fourth back in 2004.
What kind of numbers did Andy Pettit get?
As in just total votes?
Yeah.
Andy Pettit finished 15th on the list with 10.7. Okay. So those guys still have. So last year of the guys not elected, Scott Rowland still on the list with 63.2. Then it's Todd Helton with 52, Billy Wagner with 51, Andrew Jones with 41.4, Gary Sheffield with 40.6, then A-Rod at 10 at 34 or 34.3. Let me look here. Yeah, Jeff Kent is on his final year of the ballot, and last year he only got 32.7% of the vote. So I think Jeff Kent's going to be off. And then of all the italicized names, maybe Carlos Beltran stays on, but after the whole cheating trash can scandal, I don't think anymore.
No way.
Here's one just to throw out here before we do go. How many people won't be on this list next year? Do you think? Do you think it's like all the you need 5% to stay on the ballot? So like guys like Torrey Hunter, Mark Burley, and Bobby Abreu and Jimmy Rollins all had 5% and above. Torrey Hunter having 5.3, so just barely staying on.
I don't think Dickey, Ethier, Hardy, Napoli, Peralta. I don't know how many of them was going to stay on, honestly. A lot of those italicized names, I don't give any of them much consideration, to be honest with you.
And just to put it into perspective, too, Ryan Howard had his first year of the ballot last year, only received 2% of the votes, no longer on the votes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't see a single one of those people I would consider that in the first year candidate.
Yeah, and I think something tells me Bobby Abreu may fall off the ballot.
Yeah, I can't give him too much consideration either. Great guy, great career, but not.
I did think quickly about trying to vote for Gary Sheffield because I couldn't remember if he was in the steroid thing, but yeah, after some quick research, he basically came out and said, "Yeah, I trained with Bonds. I got all my stuff from Bonds." So there goes that. So Mac, you got Manny and A-Rod. John, you've got Manny and J-Roll, and I've got nobody. seems to be a popular topic with me. Who are you going to vote for? Nobody. So that's our ballots. That's our update here, guys, going into the winter meetings. Anything you're looking forward to? Any last things to add here?
We'll see free agency starting to heat up. That'll be what we're looking at, I'd say. But that's kind of where I'm at. Once one or two dominoes fall, the rest will come soon after that.
Yep, I'm looking for the Phillies to make a splash here. Dombrowski has won many times in all of the locations he's been in. I think he's going to continue to put pieces together.
Something tells me that Aaron Judge is going to end up on the West Coast, and the Mets are going to try to sign Verlander for a Max Scherzer-esque contract. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to there. What I think is going to happen, guys. Thanks for jumping on. I know it's been a while, Mac. Thanks for coming back. Hopefully we haven't scared you off again.
Not quite.
Not quite. Everybody, thanks for tuning in there. Make sure you check out our sponsors, Elite Performance, What's Poppin' Corn Snacks, Revved Up Tattoos, Printed Memories, Doc Sports Picks, mybookie.ag. Check them all out. They check us out. You check them out. It's a great partnership we got going on there. Everybody out in Facebook, YouTube, internet world, woo-hoo. Keep an eye out. We'll update when we're back on again. But until next time, we'll see you all later.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Go Birds.